This is Dante Williams, and you watching
Dante's
Boxing Nation.
This is Showtime Sean Portland.
Filipino Flash, Jesse Burns.
This is Al Bernstein. You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, I'm Sugar Ray.
Chick Shame.
Search over last name more.
Dante's Boxing Nation. Boom, 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 boom.
Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder,
My name is Gennady Golovkin.
and you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, this is Julian Jackson, and this is Dante Boxing Nation.
This is Julia Jackson, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. All right. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Bob Arum was just recently talking with Oscar De La Hoya, and it turns out they both like the idea of Canelo Alvarez facing the winner of Bradley versus Rios next after the Cotto fight. Now, this is my first question. With all of the competition at 154 pounds, considering the fact that Canelo Alvarez usually can't even make 154, he has to fight at 155 or above. He walks around at about 180 pounds. Why wouldn't you want to at least clean up the 154-pound division? You see, Canelo Alvarez, he doesn't have the problem that Roman Gonzalez has. Because when it comes to Roman Gonzalez, Roman is the only name in his division, right? There are no big challenges in his division or even any big names. There's no fighters in Roman's division that's fighting on HBO, fighting on Showtime, fighting on the PBC series, right? But when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, the Charlo brothers, Demetrius Andrade, even Vanes Martirosyan is a name that we know that is usually always fighting on big networks, right? That's not to say that Vanes, he beats Canelo. I mean, I think that's a competitive fight. I would probably lean towards Canelo to win the fight, but still, these are names that we know. These are names that fight on big networks. I mean, assuming that Bradley wins this fight, which there's no guarantee that he does, but assuming Bradley wins this fight, I'm not saying it's a terrible fight, because it's not. It would be a very good fight, Bradley versus Canelo. The only problem is Bradley is not a power puncher at 147. He wasn't even really a power puncher at 140. Now he's going to fight at 154 against Canelo Alvarez, a guy who walks around at about 180. We know Canelo walks around at least at 180 or 190, because 30 days before, when he did the 30-day weigh-in, he was almost 170 pounds. So if he's 170 pounds 30 days before the Canelo fight, imagine how much he weighed 90 days before the fight. Matter of fact, Canelo Alvarez, he used to come out here to Las Vegas, and he used to train at one of my buddy's gyms. And my friend told me that when Canelo used to come out here and train, and this was probably about maybe 2 years ago, he said Canelo used to walk around almost 200 pounds, okay? So even though a Bradley versus Canelo fight would be very intriguing, just the names alone, the build-up and all, when you look at the weight disadvantage for Tim Bradley and the advantage, of course, for Canelo Alvarez, it just makes you wonder, why would Canelo prefer to fight Tim Bradley instead of fighting the real champion at 154, Demetrius Andrade, or fighting the Charlo twins, right? Those fights obviously make more sense. Now, you see, guys, this is the difference from a stacked division at 154 versus a very weak division like 160. Because if you compare the two, Canelo Alvarez, he doesn't want to fight the best fighters in his division. I mean, imagine if David Lemieux was in his division and he was one of the champions. Canelo would jump at fighting a David Lemieux, right? But when it comes to Demetrius Andrade and the Charlo brothers, he has no interest. So he wants to move down in weight, or not move down in weight, I should say, he wants smaller fighters to move up in weight and fight him. Guys, do you notice the pattern? Do you guys notice the pattern that when it comes to fighters on a coincidental list, these decafs, they ask them to move up in weight to fight bigger, tougher challenges? But when it comes to the fighters that aren't on the coincidental list, they want them to stay in their own division. They want them to fight guys in smaller weight classes. You notice that? I'll prove it to you. These decafs will say that Floyd Mayweather should move up and fight the middleweight champion, Gennady Golovkin. But Golovkin shouldn't move up to 168 and fight against Andre Ward. Oh, but he can move up to 168 and fight Carl Froch and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Or he can move down and fight Floyd Mayweather. But when it comes to Andre Ward, he can't fight Golovkin. Oh, but he should move up to a higher weight class and fight the bigger, tougher, stronger Sergey Kovalev. And you know what's so crazy is Andre Ward, he did exactly what the fans asked him to do, which is move up and fight Sergey Kovalev. For those of you guys who don't know, Andre Ward has already signed a contract, a 3-fight deal with HBO, and in that deal, he signed a contract to fight against Sergey Kovalev, assuming both fighters continue to win. So you mean to tell me that Andre Ward can step up in competition against the big bad wolf, Sergey Kovalev, who's pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, who's going to have a size and a weight advantage probably over Andre Ward? Andre Ward was big and bad enough to take on that kind of challenge, but you telling me that Canelo can't even fight the best fighters in his own division? You telling me that Gennady Golovkin can't move up in weight like Andre Ward is doing to fight the pound for pound best fighter in the world, Andre Ward? Man, this says a lot about Andre Ward's heart, doesn't it? This really tells you guys how tough Andre Ward is compared to other fighters. Let's look at Roman Gonzalez. Roman Gonzalez is another example. They don't want Roman Gonzalez to move up maybe 4 pounds and fight against Guillermo Rigo, but they want Rigondeaux to move up in weight and fight Nicholas Walters or fight Lomachenko, which surprisingly, Rigo has already actually tried to call these fighters out and tried to work out a deal with them. These double standards are ridiculous, and I'm gonna keep exposing them, okay? I'm gonna keep exposing these ridiculous double standards. You know what I don't understand is, and I'm being sarcastic when I say I don't understand, is these fighters, or these fans, I should say, excuse me, they will pump up some of these fighters to where they are perceived as the biggest, baddest monsters in the sport of boxing. But then you fans are the ones that will try to protect them, like you protect a 5-year-old kid when you hold his hand and walk him across the street. You fans want to hold these boxers' hands, and you don't understand, you're making them look worse. You see, you'll try to sit here and say, hey Dante, why do you have to expose them with the truth and etc., right? But you guys are the ones making them look bad when you start telling everybody, oh, no. I like, Golovkin's my man, but no, I don't want him to fight no Andre Ward. No, I don't want Roman to fight, Guillermo Rigo. No, I don't want Canelo to fight Andrade or the Charlo brothers. You guys are making your own fighters look bad by putting these comments out and saying this kind of stuff. You see, when it comes to, let's say, Errol Spence, I'm a big fan of Errol Spence. I think highly of him, just like Freddie Roach thinks highly of him, and a whole bunch of other professional boxers and trainers. But when it comes to Errol Spence, I don't try to hold Errol Spence's hand. I want Errol Spence to fight the Keith Thurmans, to fight the Sean Porters. Hell, I would love to see Errol Spence even move up to 154 and fight Canelo Alvarez. And the reason why I bring that up is because Errol Spence, he said that. He said he would like to fight Canelo Alvarez. When you really believe in a fighter that you support, you want him to fight the best. You're not supposed to limit the fighter that you like by making these silly ass excuses. All these excuses you guys make for why you don't want your favorite fighter to fight the best, it makes your fighter look bad. Okay? It makes your fighter look bad. You shouldn't be making any excuses for why a fighter shouldn't fight the best. You should be fighting, you should be making, hell, if anything, you should be making a case for why your favorite fighter deserves to fight the best fighter around their division, right? That's how it's supposed to work. Let's just say if the Raiders was your favorite football team, right? And I know you like the Raiders. So I say to you, you know what, man? I would really like to see the Raiders go to the Super Bowl. And you respond by saying, hey man, why you hating on the Raiders? You just hate to see them doing good, huh? Now you want them to eventually play against the best team in the league. I knew you were a Raiders hater. Would that make any sense, guys? Would that make any sense? What type of fan doesn't want his favorite fighter to fight against the best competition in the entire sport? What kind of fan doesn't want that? The only fan that doesn't want that is a fan that doesn't believe that his favorite fighter is the best. You telling me you have a problem with your favorite fighter going to the Super Bowl and putting everything on the line? It doesn't make sense. And going back to the double standards when it comes to these fans wanting their fighters to fight smaller guys, but they want the fighters that they don't like to fight bigger guys. We already know these double standards exist in all sports, okay? The coincidental list is way bigger than you guys think. When John Jones was the current light heavyweight champion in the UFC, fans were saying, or decafs, dumb casual ass fans, they were sitting over here saying, John Jones, his arms are too long. He's too tall. That's why he's winning. He's taking advantage. He needs to move up to heavyweight. He doesn't need to fight at the light heavyweight division, right? But then when Alexander Gustafsson comes along, who's actually taller than John Jones, no one asked him to move up to heavyweight. And then when he fights against the much shorter Daniel Cormier, he gets beat. And he had the same type of reach and height advantage that John Jones had over all of the guys that he had previously beat. We know what time it is. That's all I got on this one. I'm on to the next one.